Hey guys, it's Trey back again with another video, and in today's video I want to start a new playlist where we're going to be going over design patterns. If you're not familiar with what a design pattern is, it's basically just a solution to a common computer science problem. So like as an analogy, say you have a clogged toilet. Okay, what you're going to do is use a plunger and plunge your toilet, right? So it's the same thing in computer science. There's already something created, a solution created for certain problems, okay? And then we're just going to implement the solution. So the first design pattern we're going to go over today is the builder pattern, all right? So the builder pattern is basically if you have an object that you need to construct, but you either the object has a bunch of fields that may or may not get initialized, then you would want to use the builder pattern. It's basically a way to specify only what you want to initialize in this object, and the things that you don't want to initialize, you don't even have to specify, okay? That way you don't have a bunch of constructors that have varying different fields that you need to put in, which some of which may be null, you know. So I'm going to show you this. We'll be using TypeScript. If you haven't seen my how to set up a TypeScript project video, then go ahead, check that out, because that's basically what I did here. If you follow that video, you will be where we are now. I just have this basic design patterns folder. I created the tsconfig file, and that's pretty much it. We don't even have any source files yet. So follow that video, get right here, and we will be continuing on. So as I said before, the pattern we're going to be using is the builder pattern. So I'm going to create a new folder called builder. Okay, so I'm going to say make dir, and then we'll do builder. All right, and as you can see, popped up here. So here I'm going to create inside of here a new object class. So the object that we're going to work on is a student, right? So we'll do a student with 3 or 4 fields, and I'll show you how the pattern works, okay? So I'm going to touch within the builder folder. I'm going to say student.ts. So now we have this student file here, and I'm going to create a class. All right. All right, so now we have our student class, and our student class is going to have 4 fields, okay? So we're going to have a first name, and it'll be a string. Then we'll have a last name, and then we'll do, let's do a GPA, and then we'll do what year they are, like sophomore or freshman, whatever. All right, so those will be the 4 fields we have. So in a typical object, what you'll do is you'll have your constructor, and then you'll just put all these values in here, like first name, and then when somebody creates the object, they'll go through here and specify what the initial fields are, right? But in the builder pattern, we don't do that. So in the builder pattern, when we first do the constructor, it's just going to be blank. It's going to be a blank object, all right? But we're going to use what is called a builder function to start off the builder pattern, okay? So instead of calling constructor, we're going to call this builder function, okay? So let me create this builder function. It's going to be a static builder, all right? And it's going to return a student, all right? So now we're going to say return new student. All right, so this will be what we use to kick off our builder, okay? All right, so let me show you the difference. So before, when we created, if we were to create a student class just the normal way, we say const student1 equals new student, right? But in the builder pattern, it's going to look like this. So I'm going to comment that out. We're going to say const student1 equals student.builder. All right, and so this is basically doing the same thing. Student1 will be the same as here in the original as it will be here in this one, okay? All right, so that's how we kick off the builder pattern. Now the next thing we want to do is actually add in the fields that we want. Okay, so the way we do this is we set a setter method for each one of these fields, almost like normal, like a getter setter. This will be the setter portion of it, but we're going to add a slight tweak to it. Okay, so we're going to do set first name, and then we're going to take in a first name, and that will be a string. And then we're going to say this dot first name equals first name. All right. So this will set this first name to whatever the user passes in. Okay. The only thing different that we're going to do here for the builder pattern is we're going to actually return a student. Okay. Which is basically this student. Okay. So we're going to say return this. All right. So we're going to set the first name here and then return this student that we're working on. Okay. And that way we can use that object to continue building. If that doesn't make sense, it will in a second. Let me go ahead and create the rest of these setter functions for these other three fields, and then I'll get back to you. So now I have all four of these fields with a setter. All right. And we're returning a student each time. Okay. So the difference here when we do our setter is going to look like this. So say we just want to set the first name and the last name. Say because this is a new incoming student, they're a freshman, they don't have a GPA, and we're not setting their year yet. Okay, so let's just do this. Let's say so we're going to say dot set first name, and we'll say their first name is James, and then we'll say dot set last name, and let's say their last name is Fry. Okay, so what's happening here is we're saying student dot builder. This is a static function that returns a new student. Okay, and we can see that here. So we're returning a new student. Now that we have the new student, we're calling the set first name on it. So here we go, set first name, and I'll just set the first name, and it returns the same student. Okay, and then we take that same student that now has a name, first name of James, and then we're calling dot set last name, and we're setting that to Fry. All right, so now this student one has a first name of James and a last name of Fry. We can prove this by printing it out. So we can say console.log student one, and then we'll print out student one. I'm going to go ahead and run this just to prove it. So let's say tsc-p dot. So this is going to build our TypeScript project with this TypeScript config. So now I have this dist folder, which is basically where our output goes once we build. So we're going to run this student.js file. So we're going to say node dist/student.js. And as you can see, we have our student one, which is a student, and his first name is James, last name is Fry. The other two fields are undefined at this point. Okay. So that's what's happening here. So we basically just create a student with just the values that we want. All right. So that's pretty much the builder pattern in a nutshell. The way I just showed you is a mutable way of doing the builder pattern. So we're actually mutating the actual student object that we're working on. We're actually changing these values here. Now there is an immutable way to do this. And if you're not familiar with mutable means or immutable means, I will post some resources in the description so you can take a look and, get a better understanding. But in a nutshell, mutable means that we can change the actual underlying values of this object. And an immutable object is something where we can't change these values. So as you can see here, we're saying this dot first name equals first name. That assignment won't be possible in an immutable object. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to do this in an immutable way as well. I mean, the video's technically over. You've seen the builder pattern, you kind of know how to implement it, but if you want to do this in an immutable way, keep watching. All right.